everybody, it's Cher and this is Share and Tell. In this video, I'll be giving you my review of Unsung Dru Hill, so stay tuned. Hey, okay, a little bit about me. I was born in the 90s. I'm a 90s baby. You don't need to know the exact year, but I will tell you that I was a kid when Dru Hill came out. So I remember some of their songs. You know, kids know the catchy songs and stuff, but we don't really know the depth of the group. We don't know the full background story. And as an adult, I still listen to Dru Hill, but now I appreciate the music and the artistry and the group that they were and the contributions that every single member made to the group. So when I found out about Unsung, I was like, oh yes, I'm in there. Now, I did not watch it when it first came out in February. I caught it in, this is July, so I caught it about, I want to say May, safely May. So I am a few months late to the party, but that doesn't mean we can't get it started, okay? Okay, so I had to take down notes because there's no way I was gonna remember everything. And the kind of storyteller I am, I'll miss so many details and I'll be like, wait, hold on, I forgot about. So I don't want to be skipping all over the place. I'd rather do this in chronological order to the best of my ability. So I'm gonna go ahead and go through this review. Now, I feel like I really need to put on my glasses. For real. To really make this official. So let's get started. Okay, so first of all, it opens up with Tell Me, okay, which was their first single and first hit. It's, tell me what you need. Okay, so it starts off with Tell Me. And okay, so first of all, Nokio was fine in that video. Such a cutie with the squinting of the eyes, and he always was maneuvering his lips. He knew he was fine too. But then, like, if you see Nokio in the video and Tell Me, he looks way different in the Unsung. And I know some people are gonna be like, well, you know, it's been 20 years. Like, what do you expect him to look like? I know that, but it's a dramatic difference. It's like, wow. And I don't even know if y'all seen Nokio now because he looks even more different. Nokio got dreads now. He got face tats. He got piercings. He looks way different from the Tell Me Nokio. Okay, so that's something I observed immediately. I said, wow, Nokio looks really different. You know, Candle Nokio, the Candle Nokio that was in my bed. He was pouring the candle wax on himself. That Nokio, he was fine. Okay, so that's something I noticed. So they started off with a lot of their hits. They were showing some of the people that were in the Dru Hill camp at the time, you know, producers, executive producers. They were showing even some of the people that are working with them now, like a social media specialist and, you know, all those other people, which was cool because I love to see the behind the scenes. I love the behind the scenes to see the people behind the stars that we appreciate. So it gives us a little bit of background about the guys. So Woody grew up in church, and he said his mother had a choir, or she ran a choir or something to that effect, and she basically they were always in church. And so because they were always in church, they were always singing. He said it seems like they were going on like some type of tours. So every night they were at a church, and so that's where his singing really was perfected. And so Cisco also, his godmother was a choir director, so he was always too and singing in church. And a lot of our favorite R&B singers, that's where they started in the church. Y'all know how I feel about Fantasia, okay? I love Fantasia. Well, you might not know, but now you do. Okay, so I love Fantasia, and I felt like you know, that's a common denominator. Some of our favorite R&B singers started off in the church. You know, it's just all about environment, give you an opportunity to show what you're made of, and that's what they had. So Cisco goes on to say he used to go to Woody school because that's where all the fly girls was. He was like, I used to go to Woody school because that's where all the fly girls was. And you know, Cisco has appeal, okay? Appeal. When he was younger, I could so see the teenage girls when they was all teenagers, 13, 14, 15, hanging out, and just like, oh my gosh, that guy, his real name is Mark, so I don't know if they were calling him Cisco back then, but whatever they called him, they probably thought he was fine. It always came up with that, oh my gosh, Cisco's so fine, or Mark is so fine, you know. So I thought that was a funny story. And then so it says that they were in a student quartet. I mean, I'm sorry, Woody was in a student quartet that included Nokio. And so now they introduce a little bit about Nokio's story. And Nokio says that he really got into music in the 3rd grade. He played the trumpet. And then as he got older, he said he was 14 wearing suits to school. Because Nokio was like, I'm going to be big one day. I don't know about y'all, but I'm going to be big one day. And so Nokio, I just love that story because it shows how you just have to really believe in something. He was wearing suits to school because he just knew one day he was going to be somebody in a suit. And I appreciated that. So it really was a lesson for me. Like, okay, you need to already be speaking this into existence, walking, talking, everything, so that you know, this could be a reality. I appreciated that part of his story. So then it goes on to say that Woody, Nokio, and Cisco, they were part of 14 Karat Harmony. And so you know, Woody's mama was like, no, you're not about to be part of that group, because they were touring and things. And she said, absolutely not, because of the secular music. Even there was a part where Woody said his mother was not okay with him being, they didn't even have cable in the house because she didn't like secular music. Everything had to be church related, gospel music. Okay. And then so she said that it was the devil's music. So he would sneak and practice with them, but only if it was at school he could get away with it. But when they were like doing other tours, he couldn't, other performances, he couldn't go too far with them. So then they go to perform at Morgan State University, and then they meet Kevin Peck, who is actually still their manager, Dru Hill's manager till this day. And so because they were doing all this touring and creating a buzz, lots of people took notice of them. And so, and one of those people was Jazz. Okay, Jazz was one of the people that saw that they was hot, and he like, how can I get part of this? Hold on, what I gotta do? So Jazz was begging Nokio to let him in the group, and Jazz was like, nah, we good, like we doing all right. And so so Jazz was so persistent, and again, a lesson, like, you know, he saw something, he wanted it, and he just did not give up until he got it. So Jazz was so determined that he moved his locker from the 2nd floor to the 3rd floor so that he could be closer to Nokio, so that he could have even more of an opportunity to ask Nokio if he could be in the group. So one day they were at a talent show. They heard Jazz sing, and Cisco was like, yo, we need him in the group. We gotta have him in the group. And now officially Jazz becomes part of the group. So now Jazz is in the group, these guys are doing their thing. And so Kevin was able to get them an audition with Universal Records, which was founded by Haq Islam. Okay, that's the guy's name. And so they eventually signed with Hiram Hicks of Island Records. So you had Haq Islam with Universal Records, and then they were signed under Hiram Hicks of Island Records. This is important because this is going to come up later on. You have to keep that in mind. So Hiram is like, he loves Cisco and Jazz's voice, and those are the voices that he wanted to franchise. In other words, he wanted them to be the 2 top vocalists in the group because he really loved their voices. So they went, renamed themselves. They named themselves Dru Hill, and they're actually named after Druid Hill Park in Baltimore. So that's a fun fact about where they got their name. And I love that name, Dru Hill. It's interesting. It's not like the 4 boys, or, you know, like, it's something that I always think is important whenever you're an artist or any type of brand. You don't want a name that's going to lock you in, you know, like Backstreet Boys. These are grown men. I think Backstreet Boys, if they're not in their late 40s, but they still calling themselves Backstreet Boys, they got locked into that name, and it's not appropriate for where they are in life right now. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion. So Dru Hill's a name that no matter what stage of life you're in, it's a name that will always make sense. That's just me. Anyways, so I love the part where they broke down their personalities. So they said Woody was the spiritual one. He was quiet. He was the one that always kept them on track spiritually. Nokio has swag, and we know Nokio was fine with his little candle in my bed, in my bed video. Yes. he was a silent weapon because his pen game was phenomenal. And I agree with this. Nokio has written amazing songs, and my absolute favorite, maybe the favorite or top two at least, Beauty, by Dru Hill, was written by Nokio. And that's actually Cisco's favorite Dru Hill song. He said it in an interview. Nokio wrote that song, and that song is amazing. And he actually sings background vocals on that song too. So go back and listen to it. That's Nokio all in the back, okay? So Jazz, it says that it was said that somebody made a comment that he was one of the best singers he ever heard. He said his voice covers a wide range. And they said Cisco brought the fire. Cisco was the animated one. He was responsible for choreography. He created chemistry. And he was the focal point of the group. And that's true, you know? I mean, first of all, the blonde hair alone got everybody's attention. Who is this dude with this blonde hair? Like, it worked. And it's so funny because Cisco, if you hear him in interviews, he says that the label did not want him with blonde hair. And if you notice, the first album, he had a hat on. They made him put a hat on because they were not feeling that blonde hair. But that blonde hair is one of the biggest reasons why Dru Hill got the attention that they did. And I'm not downplaying their talent and work ethic at all, but let's be real, in this overly saturated music industry and entertainment business that we're in, I mean, I said that we're in, I'm not in it, but you have to do something to catch people's attention, and Cisco's blonde hair did it for them. And not only, okay, yeah, you were captivated by the blonde hair, but then you found out, yo, these dudes can really sing, and oh my goodness, they can perform, oh my goodness, what else do they got going on? So it worked in their favor. So now we go into In My Bed, and Cisco's like, y'all, I did not want to sing that song. I did not want to sing that song, because he's like, what kind of loser got somebody cheating on them? So he felt like he couldn't relate to the song. And he said this in a couple of interviews too. So he said, you know what? I don't want to sing this song so bad. Like, the hate, the energy that he had against the song is what he used to sing the song. And I thought that was beautiful, because it's like, sometimes in life, it's so many things you don't want to do. You know, you'd be like, oh, do I have to? But then if you take that same energy of not wanting to do it and just go and do it, you'll get it done, you know? And In My Bed is still one of their biggest hits ever. It's an amazing song. And in the interview, he said, you know, I got this feeling. Like, he sang it like that because he didn't want to sing the song. So that's interesting. Now, they go into Promise. They go into a few of their other songs. They actually talk about the concepts of the videos. Like, for Promise, it was a storyline about a girl who was living with her abusive father. And I really like that, because usually when we hear about violence towards women, it's like a boyfriend or husband. But to see that she was dealing with this with her father, that was like a big deal. And they even mentioned how a lot of people were writing letters and, you know, saying, thank you so much for that video, I can relate, etc. Now, girl, we get into the shadiness, okay? So now they're talking about the money, right? So Hawk says that Island Records was looking to tear them apart. And so Hiram goes, well, you know, I made sure that if they not singing for Island, they can't sing for anybody. So that's what his stand was. Y'all not singing for nobody. So this is the part where the video goes into the money issues, and we see that a lot. Like, it's rare to watch an unsung or behind the music or any of those music documentaries without hearing something about the artists were getting cheated and they weren't making money like people thought they were. That's a common theme in the music industry, unfortunately. So Hiram is like, wait a minute, they signed to Hawk signed to me. So whatever money situation they had going on had nothing to do with me. That's between them and Hawk. And then he goes on to say, they wouldn't have made it without him. They would have still been, at the chocolate place without him. They would have still been at the fudgery stirring chocolate. I'm like, oh my gosh. And did y'all peep how the music changes every time Hiram gets on camera. It's like, you know how you're watching like a superhero movie and every time they cut to the villain, it's some crazy eerie music. Like that's what it was for this guy. Okay. So then it turns out they had a Stardust deal. There was a huge fight that Hiram swears he has no memory of, no recollection. Please, okay. Lawsuit, all this stuff. Dru Hill was suing to get out of their contract. Hiram goes, oh, they forgot who made them. Okay. And then that was a whole debacle, which was settled for an undisclosed amount. Now, it goes on to say, How Deep Is Your Love? That was their third top 10 hit. It also was from the Rush Hour soundtrack. And it was also their biggest mainstream hit, because you know they're R&B, so that was a nice crossover song for them because the beat plus its attachment to the Rush Hour movie, and I'm sure you know the little Spanish lingo words in the song, and all of that was that that combination made it possible for them to have that huge monster hit they had out of that song. So, you know, Cisco became the breakout star of this group, okay? Everybody was Cisco, okay? Marsha. Cisco. So, now Cisco... Okay, so now it goes into how they talked about These Are the Times real briefly, how it was another top song. And then they go, so Jazz goes, you know, I felt like me and Woody were at the bottom of the totem pole. And then Woody goes, you know what? I was tired of not getting any parts. I felt like everybody was getting love except for me. So Jazz also made a comment that because he was the big dude, he was always in the back in the pictures. And I hope I don't sound rude, but I felt like the two things that they said could have easily been controlled. Jazz, weight is something that, you know, I don't know his full story because, you know, people have all types of different things going on in their lives and why their weight is what it is. So I'm not going to go there. But weight is something that generally can be controlled. So if he felt like he was tired of being the big dude in the back, you know, maybe he could have done something about his weight so that he wasn't always the big dude in the back. You know, that's just my opinion, you know. And then you have Woody, who was like, oh, you know, he wasn't getting any parts. It seemed like after the shows, everybody else was getting love except for him. But Woody was the antisocial one of the group. Woody, he had on shades, and even if you notice the videos, like the camera wasn't spending too much time on him. He was looking down or away, so he was really antisocial. And like even when he performed, you could tell that his vibe was not the same as the other guys. So I think, you know, people feed off your energy, and if you got that vibe that you just like, you know, you ain't really trying to, you just here, you know, so you don't get fined, like people not really gonna rock with you like that, you know. That's just what I think anyway. But he was upset about, you know, he felt like he should have gotten more parts. Okay, so now fast forward to the Wild Wild West video. He had, so there is 1999 Wild Wild West, that horrible horrible movie, but whatever, that's a whole different conversation. Woody feels like you know, we all were brought to the set to be part of this video, but Cisco's the only person that's really in this video right now. So he got upset just being on that set and seeing how Cisco was the one, you know, who was really getting all the attention and stuff. Oh, y'all, it's hot in here. He got upset, and that was the last time he left the set. And so everybody was shocked that he left the set. And so Cisco says that after that they were a trio, and people just were not interested in seeing them live anymore. So the crowds were dying down. It just wasn't the same. So at this time, because, you know, their group is not, you know, bringing in the crowds like it used to, Cisco approaches the label and says, hey, since we are struggling right now as a group, let me go solo. And during this solo time, hopefully we could, during this time that I'm solo, hopefully the group will, you know, we'll get it together with the group. So, so he goes solo, and he becomes a huge success. So Woody came back, and he came back to the group, and he was annoyed that his solo album was never pushed. And then they ended up adding Scola because it was a little shaky with Jazz. They weren't sure if Jazz was going to stay in the group or not because he was talking about solo stuff too. So they brought in Scola. And then turns out Jazz ended up not even leaving the group altogether. So now we got 5 members, okay? And they are on Def Jam. And so they come out with this album, New Dru World Order. They come out with Dru World Order, and they had one hit from it, I Should Be, which I really love that song. I love the video too. I love that song and video, but because they only had one hit and the album went gold, you know, so the first album went platinum, second album went platinum, but this third album went gold. Gold is 500,000 copies. So they felt like that wasn't successful. So they dropped the group. That's crazy. Okay. Multi-platinum selling group and you drop me for this? Okay, because one album didn't perform well. Are you kidding me? But they were reckless back then. So you know they were on a Def Jam. Def Jam was a record label that was more like hip hop. They didn't cater to R&B too much, the R&B audience. So I think it got to a point where they just didn't know what to do with Dru Hill anymore. So now we fast forward to them talking about all the different things that they got into. Cisco was talking about he was smoking so much he lost an octave on his voice, and that's true because if you hear Cisco singing in 1996, 1997 Cisco, he does not sound the same now. Not to say he sounds bad, but it is not the same. Cisco cannot hit those notes like he used to. And I know some people say, oh, it comes with age, but there are plenty of artists who are up in age and they still killing it. So, you know, you have to take care of your gift. And I hope that he does. I don't know how those things work, but I hope that he does get his voice back. Like I said, he doesn't sound bad, but he definitely doesn't sound like 90s Cisco. So Jazz talked about how some, you know, party favorites became an addiction. So in other words, you know, we used to do drugs at the party, but then, you know, it actually turned into an addiction. And so he had to go to rehab and take care of himself. And then now fast forward to 2008, Woody leaves again in 2000. And so they bring in Teo Soprano with the group. Scola went missing somewhere here, but they didn't mention his departure from the group. He just kind of disappeared. And then in 2010, they came out with Independence Day. I really don't like Dru World Order and Independence Day are not good albums to me. The first 2 albums were amazing, and I think the first one was the best. The second was good too, but 3 and 4, Independence Day, I wasn't really feeling it. But anyways, they came out with that in 2010. Can y'all believe that was 10 years ago? And then so Jazz had to leave the group because of his weight problems. He was still dealing with health issues and all of the above. So Nokio, which they didn't mention it in this in the Unsung, but y'all, it is hot up in here. What the heck? They didn't mention it in this Unsung, but they did say, I've heard in interviews that Nokio was the one who decided to bring in Smoking Black. So now the group is Cisco, Nokio, Teo Soprano, Smoking Black. They're back to 5, okay? And then and Smoking Black are from Playa. Playa used to be Smoke Black and Static Major. Static Major passed away. I think 2008, 2009, he passed away. So it's just them 2 left they're the last 2 original members of Playa. And so they merged with Dru Hill. And now, you know, towards the end, they started talking about the video. Their upcoming song, What You Need. And they showed all 5 guys jamming in the studio. But fast forward to now, there's only 3 members left in Dru Hill. Cisco is the only original member. Teo is Nokio's not there. No Woody, no Jazz, no none of the originals except for Cisco. And then you have Smoking Black. So now they're down to 3. Okay, so Cisco likes to call it season 5 of Dru Hill. One thing I appreciate about this about this is that Cisco, he never he was never the type of dude that was like, yes, I'm the hottest one in the group. And like, that was never his attitude. Even if it was the truth, he always was open to having a group. He never wanted to be a solo artist. And he says that in many interviews. He's like, nah, I was always down with being in a group. I was never looking to be a solo artist. And he said, we all played our role. Everybody had a part. And I agree with that. I agree with that. Everybody plays a role, okay? It's just like the body. Like, there's different parts of your body do different things for you. Some do a little bit more than others, but they all need to work so you could, you know, be alive every day. So I agree with that. I loved his humble spirit. And till this day, Cisco still says people can come back at any time. Now, after they talk about all the other stuff, you know, their upcoming projects, it ends with, these are the times. So that's the recap, the review of the Unsung. Yeah, I'm gonna end it here. I'm tired. It is hot. This ceiling fan ain't doing jack, okay? But I made it through here. So please like, comment, subscribe. Let's get the conversation going. What did you think about the Unsung? What are some parts that you like? What are some parts that you didn't like? What would you have liked to see more of? Just let me know, all right? Signing out. Bye.